Hello, my name is Russ Milheim from the Direct. Good to speak with you.
Nice to speak with you. Thank you.
I enjoyed the movie, so congratulations on making it a reality.
Appreciate you. It's pain to do it each time. So, if you're gonna spend years on something, it's great if you love it in the end.
One of the first, when I was thinking about, what to talk about, one of the first kind of observations I had about the film was just that there's this infectious high energy throughout the entire thing from start to finish. How did you work to maintain that as you were going through the production?
It's casting and personnel. So, getting amazing actors for all of these roles, whether it's, Connor, Gabe, Mika, Nick, and Jillian and David, like for the parents, just absolutely amazing. And then personnel, having people that I really trust and love, from production design and RDP and, location sound, all the costumers are all people that I've worked with before, worked with on Dinner in America. And it's like a family affair when you're doing this in that manner. And that's kind of the secret sauce for me is keeping it a family affair.
And you said the movie is based on, a lot of your real life experiences.
Yeah.
Uh, can you talk about kind of the similarities between those real lives and what audiences will see in this movie?
Sure. My best friend and I growing up, we would hit the Greyhound racing track. We'd, get somebody to pay us to take us up or, hitch rides when we were 14 because we couldn't get up any other way, or somebody's older brother give us a ride. And we would take our gambling winnings. We did have a system. We had a system for big money long shots, and that's how we fucking rolled. And we would sink all of that into Real Beer, which was our beer brewing operation that in 1991, I can tell you there were not kids brewing beer. We were out there on the perimeter brewing beer. We figured out that it wasn't illegal to buy barley, hops, yeast, and malt. We could go right into the fermenter supply store and buy that and buy the tubs. And we had a big tome because it's pre-internet. So we have this big manual on how to brew different pilsners and ales and lagers. And we're doing it while his parents are at work, and we're getting the bottles and capping it ourselves and all of that. So, I mean, it was that the framework for it and the fact that we found a way to get the snack shack. We did it for 2 summers all in. That was all true. The jumping the bikes in the pool. Like, I mean, just there's just so much of it that, you know, when I built this film out, it was just on a series of note cards, and I just took all of my favorite stories, going to the party at the Pioneer Theater and like all of these things. I just put them on a wall and then just stared at it for like a year and tried to figure out how to stitch everything narratively and kind of do this meditation on my childhood. Um, there's fact, there's fiction, they're blended together. There's, inspiration from collectively from the group that I grew up in, the kids I went to school with. It's all a mishmash of that, shot in the community that I grew up in. It's the most surreal thing. As the filmmaker, I feel, just kind of this full circle aspect of going back to my hometown and shooting this thing about my childhood. It's surreal. It's absolutely surreal.
Mika was saying, I thought it was interesting that her character is not necessarily straight from real life, and it's more of a combination of people.
Yeah.
Could you talk about like, yeah, how you created that character specifically who plays such a central role in this story?
I think that it's like an amalgamation of all those proto relationships. I wanted to honor that in this film. So out of my context, just like in my context, like, you know, girls and things that I learned maybe all the way into my 20s, really, with Brooke, you know, um, different relationships. I'm 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 interested in those proto relationships where they're kind of the building block and foundation for how you'll interact with, you know, future relationships. I'm married now, so I often think about those foundational building block ones and how they each led up to this moment. So it's interesting, and I think that they're often kind of not talked about or forgotten about. You know, somebody goes on a cruise or a vacation and they meet someone the same age as them, and they maybe have a kiss or something and have a crush or think about that person, and then it's a few postcard, you know, at the time it'd be like postcards, maybe now it's emails, but eventually it tapers off and just disappears, but it's still in the fabric of what makes you, you know, those all of those added up, and now everything that you're basing decisions on or how you interact with your wife or your spouse or whatever it is just like a combination of all those things that led to that. So it's in a way it honors those types of relationships, and you just don't see that very often.
Outside of your, personal life, what were some inspirations for you when you crafted the story in terms of other, movie shows, books, or what have you?
To be honest with you, there wasn't anything that I was thinking about specifically outside of this story, and then working with the people that I had worked with in the past. I think this in this territory, we're talking about, you know, Francesca Palumbo, my production designer, and then Jean-Philippe Bernier, my DP. Um, we have a shorthand, and I think, you know, we went early to the city and designed it beforehand to a degree, shot for shot. Um, I see similarities though in John Hughes's body of work with what JP and I are interested in together, and I think that there's an honesty at times with in John Hughes' work that I don't think it's overlooked, but I think that um, I just think that the way that he handled young people in some of his films, it's incredible and it's very truthful. So I see similarities there. Maybe they're subconscious kind of decisions, but really, like, I was inspired most by being in that space with JP and Frankie and kind of just crash course, like we're just sort of designing it as we're going, because I have these visions in my head because I had the luxury of growing up in this town, and so I'm stewing and I'm seeing things shot for shot constantly, you know, in the actual locations. And there were times when I was able to show JP exactly what I had meditated on for years. Like, okay, it does this, and the reveal is this, and the shot moves this way, and so that just, I guess, doing something in my hometown, there was just an incredible amount of just 30 we shot 31 summers after, you know, the my friend and I had ran the snack shack in reality. So it was just a long time. Like, think about some of your childhood memories and then think about shooting them. You already kind of know the shot list and you already kind of know what it looks like in this in these like scenes in
That's
your, you know? So it's like fully realizing that, dressing it out sometimes so it has the appropriate, you know, uh, props and whatnot for 1991. But honestly, like, so much of this was already built out and has remained kind of unchanged. For it's not as if time has stood still in Nebraska City, but it still has this pretty cobblestone streets and places, and it the downtown still looks like it did 30 years ago. So that part was easy.
Thank you for talking to me about the film. I look forward to everyone else getting to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish you luck on whatever's next.